Hey everybody, this is James Wilson with MTV Strength Training Systems and BikeJames.com, and today I want to share with you my favorite 3 exercises, kind of a progression, if you will, of exercises that really work on improving the movement that we need for good, strong cornering on the trail. Now, cornering is all about being able to initiate movement from your hips and not from your upper body, and it's also about being able to move your hips laterally. So, just real quick refresher, cornering your bike is about leaning the bike over, not turning the handlebars. However, when you lean the bike over, you have to counterbalance that lean with your hips. And so if you can't move your hips laterally and get them into a good position to counterbalance the lean of the bike, then you're always going to feel off balance and be held back with how fast you can apply your cornering technique, how effective you are with it. So what we want to do is work on building that lateral hip mobility and lateral hip strength that is so important for that movement. So the 3 exercises that I like to use to progress people into this, the first one's more of a mobility exercise. It's a lateral body bend. You start with your feet about shoulder width apart, toes pointed slightly out. What we're going to do is, I like to bring my hands to center. It just kind of helps me feel this movement a little bit more. What we're going to do is we're going to lean from side to side. But the secret to this exercise is that we're initiating the lean from the hips. So I'm not diving over with my shoulders, I'm driving my hips over. And as my hips drive over to the side, that causes my torso to lean over. So you're trying to stay balanced between your feet. So if you find yourself, feel your weight shifting wildly between one foot and the other, then you're probably diving too much with your shoulders and not really driving this from the hips. So at first you may find that you don't have a very big range of motion with this, but just work on increasing what you have, and you'll eventually get more. So don't just do this haphazardly. And I see a lot of people in my facility, they don't have good range of motion, and so they're twisting and they're doing all sorts of things instead of really just concentrating on staying nice and tall through the core and feeling all this movement happening laterally from side to side. So this is your basic lateral body bend. I like to add about 10 to 15 of these into my warm-ups. Kind of helps me get that lateral movement going. The first exercise that I like to use, kind of strength training exercise, once somebody has that lateral body bend down, is a side press, which is basically a shoulder press combined with that lateral body bend movement. So I always demonstrate everything with a kettlebell. I think I'm subconsciously trying to get everybody out there to buy a kettlebell. But anyways, so start with your kettlebell. You can do this with a dumbbell, same exact form, everything's the same. Start in your rack position, feet shoulder width apart, same foot positions you had for the lateral body bend. Now what you're going to do is you're going to press this weight up over your head, but as you do that, you're going to bend over. So I'm going to bend over as I drive this up. I'm going to bring my hips back under me, and I'm going to bring the weight back down. So it's that lateral body bend, but I'm adding a shoulder press into it. So now I'm having to deal with counterbalancing the weight as well as my shoulders, and kind of get the weight and my shoulders and my hips to line up and move together to stay balanced on my feet. So again, I'll show you from the side. You want to make sure that when you do this movement that you're not twisting. I tell people to imagine that you're between 2 panes of glass, front and back, so that you cannot twist at your shoulders or your hips in order to do this exercise. So that is your side press. And so this just starts to work on adding some strength and stability to that movement. In fact, first time I have people do this exercise, they usually come back the next day, complain about how bad the side, like their core is just all sore and tore up on the side. And they always ask me, like, what was that core training exercise that we did that killed my sides like that? I tell them, remember that side press you did? Like, yeah, that was a shoulder exercise. No, not really, man. It's a core training exercise, for our purposes, and especially if you lack that lateral mobility and strength, it's really going to, crush your obliques and stuff in a way that few exercises can. So anyway, side press, great exercise. The next one is the windmill, and this takes our kind of the loaded lateral body bend to the next level. So what we're going to do, again, start with your weight in your rack position. You're going to just do a regular shoulder press to get it overhead. Make sure you got that tricep nice and tight, your elbows locked out, your shoulders pushed down away from your ears. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn both of our feet away from the kettlebell, And then what we're going to do is hand on the inside of our leg, and we're just going to run our hand down the inside of our leg, touch the ground by our heel, and then drive ourselves back up. Now, you'll notice the movement is coming from my hips. So you want to shift your hips over a little bit over to this leg before you start the movement. That kind of helps get the movement going. So shift it over, then you're going to run that hand down, keep driving that hip over the leg, and then you're going to drive the hips, push the hips back underneath you to bring yourself up. So that is the windmill. And again, just kind of takes that to the next level. Definitely starts to, because when we're on our bikes, we're not leaning side to side. We're actually kind of having to do a hip flexion with that lateral core movement or hip movement. And that's what's happening with this windmill. We're having to incorporate that hip flexion in with that lateral hip movement, as opposed to the lateral body bend, and the side press doesn't incorporate that hip flexion into it. But we need to get that going first before we can really incorporate the windmill and get the most from it. So anyway, so if you follow these progressions, work on one until you're good at it, and then start adding the other one in. The side press and the windmill, these are low rep exercises. I typically suggest 3 to 5 reps with those. Doing 2 to 3 sets of 3 to 5 reps will definitely help you get it going. So anyways, but yeah, work on one till you're good with it, then move to the next one, and eventually when you're doing the windmills, you want to do those often, because those will really help groove that movement that you need for that cornering balance. So anyways, once again, it's been James Wilson with MTB Strength Training Systems. You can check me out on the web at bikejames.com. Hope you guys have enjoyed this training tip, and I'll talk to you in my next one.